with everyone. So hola, ship familia. I'm so excited to be here today to learn about Medtronic and the multitude of careers we have for electrical engineering. SHIP and Medtronic have partnered together to provide opportunities for full-time paid internships for summer 2023 that we incorporate a holistic support model into. So my name is Ashley, and I am a director of our research and innovation team here at SHIP, and I'm going to moderate today's panel. But before we get started, I do have a couple housekeeping items. So again, this recording will be shared out with everybody. So, make sure, ask those questions, but just know that we'll get those shared out with you, as well as a link to this PDF or the PowerPoint that you're seeing today. Our wonderful panelists here, they would love to connect with you on LinkedIn as well. So take advantage of that networking piece. And then the other part, so the structure of today's panel is we're going to start with some prepared questions. So you can get to know our panelists, and then we're going to open up to Q&A at the end. And so I encourage you guys, if you guys have a lot of questions, we will definitely jump to that open Q&A quicker. So start typing those questions into the chat. Cassandra, my colleague on my research and innovation team, she'll be checking the chat there for those questions for you. And so please let us know. And then also when we get to that Q&A portion, you're welcome if you want to have them in the chat, or if you want to, raise your hand and you ask them on video, we'd happy to have that as well. So what we're going to do first of all is just do some introduction questions and get to know our wonderful panelists. And so the first question I'm going to have each of my panelists do is just introduce yourself, give us your name, your major, and your current title, and then just kind of tell us your professional pathway that shows how you got to your current role. So Monica, we're going to go ahead and start out with you.
Hi everyone, so my name is Monica Villaseñor, and I was an electrical engineer student, I think a while ago. Has been like 10 years ago since I graduated. And so I actually started doing an internship at Intel. And then from there, I got a full-time job in GE Healthcare. And that's how I started in the healthcare industry. And it was really kind of cool to see that the healthcare industry has actually more than just technology, but it's helping people to have a better lifestyle. And so I decided to stay within that industry. And then a year and a half later, I moved to Medtronic. And ever since I have been here, so it's been almost 7 years with Medtronic. And so very happy. Did I miss something? Ashley, you are muted.
Darn it. Thank you. No, that was perfect, Monica. We're just looking at kind of understanding how you got to where you're at today. So Benit, if you want to give us that experience for you and your major and, internships and what you do at Medtronic now.
Sure, thanks. So hi, I'm Benit. I graduated on 2016. I think that's 4 or 5 years. Actually, I graduated in 2019. Sorry, I did a master's after 2016. So yeah, so I did my master's from Case Western Reserve at Cleveland, Ohio. I did a major, within master's major in electrical engineering, but also was working with medical devices. And after that, I worked at Cleveland Clinic for a year, doing more research and more sensor and biomedical devices. And then I was recruited into Medtronic doing something similar, like electrical engineering. What I do day-to-day life is we are opening up alternate modalities for what we have in the market. So my work largely involves in doing either the treatment level research on that or system level development of that. So yeah, I mean, that was a gist of it.
All right.
Questions? Yeah, but yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Good overview to start out. So Veronica, if you want to give us some information, major, kind of that professional pathway and what you're doing at Medtronic now.
Hey everybody. My name is Veronica Ramos. Also did, I also majored in electrical engineering for undergrad. Graduated back in 2009. And I was working even prior graduation in a small IT company. So kind of like doing, like wearing multiple hats. 2 years after I graduated, I was hired by a company that later on Medtronic acquired, but then it was a medical device company as well. I kind of like got into this biomedical engineering team. So it was kind of like a new world for me, but it also kind of like gave me an advantage point of being the only electrical engineer in the team, and kind of like gave me some perspective and some advantage to take or disadvantage to be given certain projects. In 2016, Medtronic acquired that company, and so I've been with Medtronic ever since. During the time, being in kind of like a research-driven team, I focused more in data-related activities. So no circuits and stuff like that. And I pursue a graduate education on that, due to that being my kind of like day-to-day role. So I completed my master's in 2020 in data analytics. And that's what I do today. So kind of like I'm feel more like a data science. So it's very interesting and something that I want to kind of like give to you as feedback. So learn as much as you can, but you don't know. I never knew I was gonna end up doing something like this. I would imagine myself kind of like working for like Florida Power Light or something like that, being an electrical engineer, and it has been nothing like that. So I'm very happy.
Thank you for sharing that, Veronica. I think that's the goal of today's panel, is really just to show you guys all have that same electrical engineering background, but look at these different ways that you can kind of use that in the different pathways. And so I'm also happy to have Jocelyn joining us today. Jocelyn, I'm going to change the question a little bit for you. So Jocelyn participated in our summer 2020 or 22 internship experience with SHPE this summer at Medtronic. And Jocelyn has received a full-time offer. So she has a really unique perspective. And so the next area that I want to talk to you guys about, I think the most common question that people have is, what does a day look like? We talked about, you guys all have very different roles, and your days are going to be very different. And so Jocelyn, I'm going to start off with you. And can you tell me, when you think about your internship last summer, what was a day like for you? And I think it helps, we know days are usually very different. So kind of think about it maybe in like a big picture, like what part of your day, were you in the lab? Were you in clean rooms? Were you at your computer? Were you in meetings? So just kind of give us a day-to-day overview of what that might look like for you.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So hi, everyone. My name is Jocelyn Garcia, and like Ashley said, I was an intern this past summer with the internship program, the InternSHPE program. And I was in their Tempe site. So it's like, if you don't know where Tempe is, it's like right next to Phoenix in Arizona. Yes. And then I was in their test applications team this summer. So my day in the life, yeah, I think it's like everyone's probably going to tell you the same thing. It's like a little bit different. But in terms of like my project, I was working on an accuracy analysis tool, which involved a lot of me being at my desk and kind of working on a way to automate something that they've been doing by hand. But they did have like access to clean rooms, and a lot of it was me reaching out to people in my team or in other teams to kind of take me on a tour for the labs. I've noticed that the people in Medtronic, at least in Tempe, and I'm everywhere else too, like they are very open to like take you around the tour in the lab and just show you what they do, especially since the one in Tempe has like multiple labs, and I was in there, like I was in one specific lab in one of their buildings, but there's multiple ones, so you can reach out to anyone in any other team and take a tour. And that's what I ended up doing. Was I think I managed to go to every lab in that site before I left, which was great to experience. They have it's mostly clean room areas, and then Another part was just kind of networking and having lunch with other people that work there. They're very open to just meeting up in the cafe and just having a lunch and talk to you about their roles and everything like that. And then I was grateful to be included in their like staff meetings as well, even though I felt like sometimes I had no idea what was going on. It was still nice to be included and still be part of what they do on a day-to-day, but that's kind of what involved. I was more on like since my project wasn't too technical, since I was doing an accuracy analysis tool, a lot of the outside and interacting in the lab was like on my end to reach out, which I do recommend to do, is just reach out to people and they're most likely willing to like meet with you and show you around. So yeah. I hope that was good.
Yes, no, that's perfect, Jocelyn. And there's already questions in the chat for you. So we'll come back. I think, again, I'm so happy to hear that perspective. Going back then, Veronica, can you give me, let's narrow in, let's think about last Thursday. What did that day look like for you? And was that a really abnormal day?
So Thursday is my team's meeting day. So I'm 100% remote now. I wasn't before, but in the past year and so I have been. So my team is now in Minneapolis and now I'm in Florida. So I'm kind of like the outlier on the other side of the country. But Thursday afternoon, it's kind of like teams meeting. So I meet for my core project, kind of like early afternoon and like late afternoon, I mean, with like my team where we kind of like get status updates for everybody. So they bring to the table if they have something significant to present and to kind of like educate the rest of the team on things that we're not working on, but kind of like give us a debrief on the milestones that somebody else had reached. And also kind of like our manager bring key points that we might need to know about, that being a conference or some procedure or some new training that we have to take. But in my particular case, being in research, I have a lot of alone time. That being that I don't have meeting time where I can actually sit down and like code or do whatever I need to do. Something that I learned being remote is that I have to self-manage my time. So make use of whatever tools we have available. Meaning that sometimes I block my calendar on purpose so nobody schedules meeting during that time so I can get work done for a couple of hours. And again, you know, that's flexible. If something really important comes up, people are gonna still book you on that time. Because remember, sometimes meetings require 10 different individuals and they have to make the best of it. And sometimes they cannot find a specific spot where we are all free. But that self-booking helps me to also kind of like know, okay, Thursday morning, I'm gonna do this. And it kind of also kind of like helps me schedule myself. So that was my Thursday. Me time, code time in the morning and meetings in the afternoon.
Perfect. All right, so different. All right, Benit, let's hear about what your Thursday was like last week.
Sure. I had a couple of meetings too in the morning. So we collaborate with Ireland, our Galway team. So we had a part of our team which is in Galway. So usually, like, because of the times, so we have early morning meetings, 8 to 10, doing like technical meetings for like the treatment that we are working on. Like they are building, let's say, the mechanical side. I'm doing the electrical side in Santa Rosa. So we were like discussing something like that. And after that, right now my time is spent on like looking at the treatment. So let's say like in electrical engineering terms, I designed some console stuff and a treatment stimulation, and we did like a preclinical study. Now my work is to like look at what we got, and it's more holistic, something like what Veronica is doing, mostly like looking at a lot of data, like, oh, we got this, or we got that, we got heart rate, we got blood pressure. What are the key features that we need to find from these? So that's what I was spending like the rest of my Thursday. And usually end of week, like Thursday afternoons to Friday afternoons, are also gone for like brainstorming. I would say like 20% of my time, 25% of my time is also like reading what's happening in the world or in electrical engineering terms, and like filing for intellectual property or disclosures. And whatever brainstorm happened, there's always like ideas from there, which I need to file for like disclosures or something. So usually Thursday afternoons and Friday afternoons are for like those kind of things. So yeah, that was it.
Perfect, Vineet. All right, Monica, what did your Thursday look like?
Last Thursday. So as Veronica, I am now also fully remote. I was not, but my Thursday usually would look like, so in the morning, sometimes we have issues or issue to review that are very severe. So when the issues are very severe, since I'm in the quality team, that will be escalated to our vice president or board of directors for review for actions. If there is further actions to do, I will just focus on that. When we don't have any critical issues to work on, like last Thursday, I will work on my day-to-day, which sometimes is just reviewing documents and working with other engineers that are kind of like investigating issues, or when we have signals because we have product events that occur. I sometimes review data on these product events, so I want to see if I see trends, like something that is within manufacturing maybe, or with our supplier, or maybe it is actually our customer, like user error kind of thing, or something else, happening. So, and then I can actually explain these issues. That's also when we're not in audit. So right now we're also preparing for the FDA audit. So that's something that what I was doing on Thursday, because we're expecting them to come unexpected sometime this week. So. Yep.
Well, thank you guys. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can kind of focus in here on our speakers as they respond to those questions now. The next kind of topic bucket of questions we're going to look at here is career navigation. And I think you guys have touched on this a little bit, but Vineet, I'm curious, can you tell me, how did you choose your career?
Career as electrical engineer or career as R&D electrical engineer, like it's what?
Let's how did you pick your career, like what you're doing right now?
Yeah, sure. So I was always interested in like electrical engineering. So before like medical device, I wanted to be in like in aerospace or something similar. Very regulated, just like being a tech person, I guess. But like due to personal situations, I was able to like be in an ICU like for my mother, and I was able to see like what ICD does, or like what a pacemaker does, or what all these medical devices do, and like I would say like saving lives or something. So that motivated me, and that's why I wanted to be like in medical device company. And I'm pretty sure like a lot of people have the same passion or same motivation to be in a medical device company, because they have seen something in past, or they want like think like this is, yes. Anyway, yeah. So that's why I'm in medical device company, because I like the value as being an electrical engineer or as being a like biomedical engineer. What you can do, this is like the closest you can be like in saving lives, relieving pain. So yeah, that's why.
Vineet just mentioned a little bit of Medtronic's mission there in his response. And I will say is that that's something, it was a really good question that came up in the chat already is, what are we looking for? And I think that connection to the Medtronic's mission is something that is really going to make candidates stand out in the application process. Every single person I talk to at Medtronic can just give me that Medtronic mission off the top of their head. It's so ingrained into the culture. And I think that it's such an important motivating one there. Jocelyn, this next question I'm going to ask you. Did you have any wins this summer that made you confident that you were doing the right thing?
In terms of the summer, I think it was like the first time I presented the tool that I was creating. So a little like background, because I know I just mentioned the tool and everyone's like, what am I doing? So a lot of the the engineers have to like go through these tests on the instruments that they use on the testing floor, which is like in their labs, and they have to make sure that they can handle the ranges that we want them to use. So because of that, that's where an accuracy analysis comes into play to kind of verify and make sure that we are testing what we need to test. So the way that they were doing it was by hand, because all of these instruments have different conditions and different ranges along with those conditions. And each of them have their own equation. So they have to solve them by hand, which would take a lot of time, and there's room for like error. So my job was to automate this, and I used Excel. That's what they started using, so I just went with it. And it was pretty simple to just continue on Excel anyway, like with what they wanted it to do. Maybe like later on when they get more intricate, they'll probably move to a better software. But that was my whole role. So once I had something presentable, and I had to present in the staff meeting, and I was very nervous. I think I had just a couple weeks in, and I'm like showing them this tool that I'm working on, and they all like really gave me positive feedback and were very impacted, and they really liked it. And that kind of made me feel a lot better, because like I said, it wasn't a technical, like hands-on project. But just knowing that it had an impact, especially when we finished it, and before I left, we managed to get it validated, because that was the second part of my project, was to get it validated. And just knowing that they're able to use it even when I'm gone is also very rewarding. So that's kind of that win that I had, was knowing that they really liked it, and they're going to use it. But yeah.
That's awesome, Jocelyn. That sounds like a major win for an intern, especially doing something like that in your second week of your internship. Let's go to the next question. Monica, can you tell me, how does your team define success?
Hello. So my team defines success when we have 0 audit findings. That's just the truth. You know, we can work, we can have approve things on time and everything, but we really don't see the results until we have audits. And to be quite honest, we have done amazing. The last year, 2 years ago, I can't remember really anymore, but they were there and we had actually 0 findings. So that's extremely rewarding, because it's a lot of time pressure that we put into the people that are working into all these projects and documents, and to be able to come and tell them, see, I mean, it was not for nothing that we were kind of harsh, or that we were kind of asking for too much information, right? It's all right there. That's how we define success. And of course, that the new products coming into the market also have a lot less issues. We have a lot less product events. So the patients are more happy with the new generation products.
Awesome. All right, Veronica, this next question is for you. Can you talk to me about the culture at Medtronic in terms of expectations or standards, or some, different parts of that culture?
Yes, so the Medtronic, being a big company, has very standardized. Again, let me track back. I've been on research most of my career here at Medtronic, so we get yearly goals as to what we are aiming to achieve during the year. And mind you, they're not written in stone. Like, we document them, but we're flexible to things change. Quality might have a kind of like a big need that kind of like drift some goals aside or delay them, and that will be taken into account. But you are also going to find yourself kind of like being your own driver. So it is up to you, and I felt that that's been my case, that it is up to you to kind of like fulfill your goals. And if there's something that you need, that being a training or a resource or a piece of software that is needed for you to fulfill certain goals, it is up to you to speak up that being to your manager or some peer that you think might be helpful. Reach out to whoever you think is need can help you to succeed. And if by any chance you think that you cannot achieve that goal, that being because the priorities or timing, again, speak up. And again, there is communication all over, and it's bi-directional, and it works. I find myself in situations where it's not feasible for me to deliver something by this quarter because something else came up, or unfortunately, maybe we kind of like under predicted the amount of time it was gonna take. You kind of like communicate that as soon as you find that out, and it's going to be okay. But don't stay silent and wait to the last minute to say, oh, I didn't do this because I didn't have this software. Well, did you ask for it? That kind of thing. And it's like anything in life. Just speak up because nobody, and now that a lot of us are going to be remote due to the situation we live in now. And like, again, being a big company, we're hiring from everywhere. Your manager will meet with you and other peers will meet with you, but you're kind of like your other manager. So it's up to you to kind of like make sure that you communicate your needs. So that would be my advice to anybody.
Veronica always drops good pieces of advice in her responses too. Jocelyn, I'm curious if you can speak to what your perception of the culture was as an intern and a new person to the company this summer.
Yeah, I actually really loved it. I love the culture. I think Medtronic is one of the few companies that I've seen, like, at least from my experience, like in other companies that I've interned, maybe like the only company that actually focuses on the mission and like cares about their employees and everything. Like just talking to different employees, you could tell that they really value the mission and want to do better and follow the mission to like extend life, restore life, restore health. And, you know, like they follow it really well, and they all have their own personal stories. I've met with many people and they shared their personal stories that made me like really connect with them, as well as just the way they value their employees a lot. I think I've met a lot of people that in my case personally, like I came in and I was like the first like non-binary person that they interacted with in that office. So they struggled with like pronouns and everything like that. Yes, but I never felt like any malicious intent, or I just felt like they were really trying because they valued me as an employee, and they actually like tried to use my pronouns and everything. Like I didn't feel like they disregarded it or anything like that. So that was like more of a personal thing that I've noticed, that I really enjoyed how they treat their employees, and they really care. And you have ERGs too to support you, which I thought was great to kind of hone down like more of that culture. But I clearly enjoyed it because I want to come back, and I will come back after I graduate. So definitely a company that I recommend to people. And now I tell everyone to just intern at Medtronic or work at Medtronic, and continuing that cycle of like bringing them back and everything. Yep.
Thank you for that perspective. Benit, next question is for you. Can you tell me what you find as the challenging aspects of your career right now?
Sure. The most challenging, I would say, is nothing technical. It's pretty much as it's a big company, there is always someone who knows a little better on something. So I would say like finding that person or something. I'm sure like what I'm working on, there's someone within our group, within our company, different group is working on that. And just like having a way to like contact them. We have like in-house groups to like chat with them and have meetings. So that's one thing, like, you know, like going out of your team and discussing something. And also like having to work in a big team. One big challenges would be like, as I was saying, like half of our team is in Galway. So sometimes like just the distance of it kind of makes it little, I would say, less efficient. So we make sure like we do something, but if we want like a test done early morning, we had to wait the next day for them to finish it so that we get the result. Then I have to stop and like focus on something else, prioritize my work and my time on something else so that I'm being waiting for them. So that's something which is I would say like is like most challenging, just like managing different people's time, different people's I would say location. And that's pretty, like typical for anyone in Medtronic, I feel like, to like having that time with other people. And yeah, that's the most challenging, I would say.
All right, so to bookend that question, Monica, can you tell me about what you find the most rewarding? I know a zero finding audit is at the top of your list, but are there any other parts of your job that you just really find very rewarding?
Yes, and this is really funny. I actually started in the site that Jocelyn is at, so I know pretty much everyone there, and I really enjoy it. So besides, the fact that you're working in something that it actually makes sense, that you're helping other people's life and all that stuff, and that it's just a job that is rewarding from that standpoint. Also working with people that became like family, and they're really close to me. They're like friends, and I feel very comfortable, and then I can achieve something. It's very rewarding, and that's just part of the culture. I had made really good friends through work, and they might have worked in other different sites, but they never even work with me, like in my day-to-day job. But we make connection, and also with the people I'm working on, they're like every time there is a life event for a worker, there's always everyone pitching in to like go to the retirement party or like baby shower for this person, and it's so rewarding that to know that there's just people there for you as well as not just work and behind the curtains that's over. So I really enjoy that.
So kind of to follow up on that, Monica, I know you're fully remote. How do you feel like you're able to, engage and participate in things like that as a remote worker?
The advantage I had is that I have been all over Medtronic, like in multiple sites. So I know a lot of people. And so I went to a lot of happy hours. I went to a lot of offsite events. I participated into tons and tons of the ERG events. And I made a lot of connections that put me in the spot that I am now, that I feel comfortable being remote. And so when there is someone in the site here that come from America or somewhere else, sometimes I ask to meet up with them too and have that one-on-one connection. But I try not to lose that because I know at some point I will go away from remote. So, and that has been awesome that people accepted too, that I am remote, and they still try to make space sometimes for like a 30-minute virtual coffee chat. And I accept that. It's like, oh, I haven't seen you in such a long time. Or can we catch up? I was in the leadership program. Actually, Medtronic has a lift program. I don't know if Veronica or anyone else have heard about it, but when you're a high potential, what they call high potential in the company, they put you in this special program to teach you leadership and to give you a sponsor. And so I had to go on maternity leave right before finishing the program. But all the people that were within the program, when I returned, they scheduled like a one-on-one with me, and I continue to make connections with them. Very cool.
Awesome. So a couple of you guys have mentioned and just talked about the ERGs and the importance of their role in the culture. Veronica, do you participate in any of the ERGs? Can you speak to any of them from your personal experience?
Personally have not. And please, can any of you tell me what ERG stands for?
Well, then I'll kind of open that up. Does anyone want to speak to the ERGs that you participate in or find support and community in?
That's the employee resource groups. So it's that the former SHIP, HLN, SWE,
Then I have. I just didn't call it.
Medtronic Women's Network.
And
Young
it's funny because
professional.
like we have something called ERPs, which are like external research programs, maybe in research, and I'm like, maybe something else that manufacturing and quality do. Yes. So yes, to the Hispanic network, I participated in that. And again, being where I mean in South Florida here, I can actually go in person, which is great because even though I'm remote, I have opportunities to go and see people, and that does not necessarily require me having to go to Minneapolis. So there's been opportunities when I can do local stuff here with, and it's interesting because the people that I actually meet here locally have nothing to do with my role. So it's even better, get their perspective. There's a lot of like support, operational support for the Latin America part of Medtronic. So I work with a lot of, I've met a lot of like operational folks just doing this volunteering activities, which is great. Also manufacturing people from the division that we had here in South Florida. So that was great, having the opportunity to use that network to do something outside your your day-to-day job, but also kind of like brings back kind of like the company's mission to help not only the patients, but the communities that we're at. I know that my teammates in Minneapolis do a lot of stuff local as well, that being that they support like the local schools, elementary school for like STEM programs, and they go and like after hours or like on weekends and do like kind of like a robotic class for kids. And it's great to see our coworkers doing this myriad of stuff that have nothing to do with what we do day to day, but help a lot of like either kids in the community or people in general. And that's
I
awesome.
was on those in Minneapolis, so it's true. I've seen them.
Awesome. Benny, I think were you talking about a different ERG maybe there?
Yeah, so we have a Medtronic Young Professionals. That was the first ERG which I joined. Usually we use it. I join it. I don't have to join it every meetings they have, but like specifically, let's say they have like career growth or career switch or something similar. So I would join them. Or the happy hours. I would go for happy hours once in a while. Yeah.
Awesome. So the ERGs, and I'm so glad Veronica asked about that. I know that being a huge company, Medtronic, we have acronyms and there's different terms and phrases. And I know for interns, they have literally a handbook that has like, here are different acronyms, here are different phrases and things to help you guys familiarize yourself, because sometimes it feels like you're joining something with a completely different language, which most of you have some familiarity with. And so just thank you, Veronica, for being so open and asking what is an ERG. And then Monica, you said something about SWE. Do you have any other, I know ERGs and the culture of support at Medtronic is something I think that I'd really like to highlight here. Monica, is there any other ERGs that you'd like to kind of talk about? Sounds like you've been involved in quite a few of them.
Yeah, I have been involved in almost all of them. When you ask me, yes, I'm in the Medtronic Women Network, the HLN. I was president of SHPE Medtronic, Minneapolis, and then the SWE. I was also the mentoring chair for the SWENet, Medtronic, the young professionals as well. They have also Christians. They have also the LGBT community too. So yeah, there are quite a lot of ERGs, and the events for each ones are all great. They're targeted to whatever the need for that particular communities are. So when the Medtronic Women's Network is very broad, for example, is focused to put women in Medtronic at a leadership position. The HLN SHPE is focusing to put Latino, Hispanic talent into leadership positions or technical leadership positions. The SWE is to advance women or technical women in their careers, and have a lot of mentoring. That has been the focus. So, and of course, the other ones like the Christian, the young professionals, it has a lot of career development, but also a lot of networking, because it's really important for a huge company to have networking and to kind of get you out of your day-to-day job. That's a lot broader outside of the Tempe campus. I know there is this little campus like Tempe where the community is already great. They have the SWENET there, and I think the MWN and stuff. They're a little bit little in these places, but when you go in the broader spectrum, it's great networking, great help for your career development. It's really amazing.
Apart from ERGs, we have like other I would say like meetings across, or like teams across, like for like, let's say EEs. Actually, there's like I would call it like we meet across like, let's say like a sensor group. So we have bi-weekly meetings, or like every once in a month, where someone somewhere, like mostly let's say like Tempe, or there is Colorado, or like Santa Rosa, they're like Minnesota, there are like so many electrical engineers like everywhere in the team. So they do like present their work, and then we discuss that. If we ask questions, we do ask questions, and that's how we know each other as well. Like, oh, I know, like, I don't know battery so much, but I'm looking into battery application, and maybe I should just talk to like a big group in Medtronic where we build our own batteries, MECC. So I should talk to them because this guy presented and this presentation about this. So we have like a lot of technical groups too. Firstly, like we have like IP groups, which I'm part of. Like our work is to like organize a lot of brainstorms to like create as much disclosure IPs as possible for the Medtronic portfolio. So there are like so many of those too.
Awesome. So lots of support and lots of really valuable networking, professional networking, and it sounds like some personal networking opportunities there as well. So somehow we're already almost at the end of our hour. This has flown by. So I do want to take the time now to hop into some of those questions that are in the chat. So I'm going to kind of go back to some of those, but if anyone has questions that's here, if you want to raise your hand and ask those, happy to hear those questions. Jocelyn, I do want to ask you this question that came into the chat. Can you speak to what that second interview was like for you? That technical interview, you know, what kind of questions were like, very vaguely, obviously, but what do you remember about that second interview?
Yeah, so that was technically like literally a year ago. So I'm gonna do my best. But I don't remember anything like, I've had technical interviews where they gave me like a worksheet to solve like and figure out like something, like just it was simple as like they gave you like a low pass filter like graph and you say what kind of filter it is. But it wasn't like that. I felt like the questions that I got was more targeted towards like what kind of classes I've taken, what skills I've learned from those classes. Since I was meeting with the manager in the Tempe campus, my concentration, one of them is nanotech. So I've already had experience in a clean room before. So my questions were more targeted towards that kind of experience and like how, like what my project entailed when I worked in, when I did my intro to nanotech, nanofabrication class, because that's when I went into a clean room and worked on a project. So I felt like that was more of the questions that I got, like what kind of classes you're taking, and if they are familiar with it, they'll probably ask you for projects and coursework like that were implied within. That's like what I remember. Nothing too difficult, nothing that I couldn't, like you can't answer, as long as you remember what the course was about. Like in my case, it was actual project that I worked on, so it was a lot simpler for me to answer.
And I don't know if Veronica or Benit can speak if you've been on the hiring part to talk about what that second technical interview, what your perspective might be as a hiring manager.
It's tough. Sometimes it's really tough. You know, I mean, personally, when I have been in the decision panel, a lot of the managers look for character, you know, that you fit in the team, that you are a team player. This is super important, you know, that you're a quick learner. There are certain ways that you can see that, you know, there are some managers that are good at making additional questions, that you are adaptable. What is your way of adapting? And of course, honesty. When they ask you, why do you want this position, or why you're the best fit for that position, I have seen a lot of candidates not having or not getting the position. They interview great, but because the response of why they wanted the position was not the most adequate. So just think about what you want, the position you want, and why you're applying. I mean, I get it. You guys are all coming out of school and you want a job, right? And it's valid to say, you know, I want a job, but just be completely aware of the positions that you're applying for, and that it's something that you have some interest on, that you have already researched what the position it's all about. Try to talk to people in advance, you know, that you've seen that they have done something similar, and see if that's really something that would suit you. Because like I say, that's really something that I have seen to make the difference between candidates.
And oh, sorry, Veronica.
No, sorry.
You're good. Let's hear it as well.
Kind of had the same experience as Monica. My personal experiences, the interviews I have sat on have been way more about character and attitude than technical. And again, we're all gonna ask you, in my particular case, what's your experience with data, and like what software you feel more comfortable on coding. But honestly, it's about, from the other side of the interview, is kind of like what we're probably analyzing or assessing the most is like, are you a good fit for this particular team? We all have to learn. This very same week, I had to touch something that I haven't touched since college. Jocelyn talking about filters. I hadn't touched filters. I had to design a filter since I was in college. And I was testing my friend from college, and I was like, guess what I'm doing today? And she didn't remember either, because she's also an electrical engineer, but she doesn't do that. And it's, so we all have to continue to learn. Doesn't matter if you graduated 20 years ago. So it's not about, and it's not all about knowledge or coding or a specific skill. It's about, can you learn? Can you fit in this team and what they need now for you to do? So think about that. And I think that's an experience that what has happened to us. My personal experience when I got hired to Medtronic, there was not a single, but this is my personal experience, there was not a single technical question in my interview. But that was a long time ago.
So
I had some.
Oh. To throw a plug for the SHPE programming. So we do for all applicants that are selected to do that technical interview, we do a panel with hiring managers to give you some really specific kind of tips and tricks to be successful. So I'm glad you guys are asking those questions and already thinking about that process. I hate to cut off the good advice we have. I know we're just ticking down to the last few minutes of this, and I see a hand up and I want to give them an opportunity to ask that question. So one thing quickly too, the link to apply is in the chat, but I'm going to go ahead. Justin, your hand is up here. What question do you have for us today or for our panelists?
Hi, everyone. So personally, something that kind of drew me to the kind of biomedical device industry is that my impression is that it's fairly cross-functional. I was just wondering, in what capacity do you guys get to interact with, I don't know, groups, people outside of electrical engineering, like mechanical, biomedical, maybe systems biology? Are they working with you on teams, or are you more like on an electrical team working with mechanical teams? Just curious.
I think it depends on your position, but I let somebody else answer. In my case, I do interact with electrical engineers in different teams now. And I was at some point in a team.
I think it also depends. Again, I've been in 2 teams in research, and my first team was very towards biomedical, and it was just chance. And then there was me, and then we hired a mechanical engineer and aerospace engineer. Now in this research team that I am at, we'll probably half of us are electrical, but we have biomedical, we have computer science. It depends. So there are multifunctional teams, and there's some teams that are more specific, but I'm pretty sure that most of my R&D umbrella, which is with our research and development, is probably a mix of different disciplines.
My experience is mixed as well. Like I have like worked with one team which was just making this one electrical instrument, so we all were like EE. Within EE we had different speciality, like one was sensor, one was development, one was system. So that, but also like I was in working with phase 0 project in which I was the only EE, and my work was basically to make this system, and it doesn't have to look good, or like it doesn't have to, like Monica won't like it at all because it has like wires dangling from it and whatnot, but that was just only like feasibility. And in that I had to work with like mechanical engineers who would like 3D print stuff, or biomedical engineers who would do like signals, or like who are good at like doing everything else. Just what do you call preclinical, I don't know what I would call them, like clinical specialists who would know like how to design a preclinical study. Like, okay, we want to do this physiological signal. How do we measure that physiological signal? They're like people who are like human factor engineers who would like tell us like how to put a study for like physicians so that they can review our work and tell us like what we need. So it was pretty much like a very multi specialty group. Yeah, it's both. So you have to like figure it out. Do you want to just be an EE, or do you want to like branch out and be like a holistic system, or even like more like a treatment scientist? So it's totally up to you. Yeah.
But based on what you say, actually, you will always interact with other people. Either you will interact with managers or with groups outside your group. Even when you're in a EE group only, you'll always have to do interactions with other.
Yeah, and I learned a lot of like mechanical stuff, even if I want to or didn't want to, because there was none. So I had to like learn how to make a valve, or like how to run the valve, how to do 3D print, which I never learned in school. So yeah, it's both. It's good to like know both.
Great, thank you.
Good question.
All right, well, that was an excellent question, and I think that's the question we're going to end this on. So I do want to give a couple, I know there were some other questions here in the chat, so I want to take advantage of this time to show. So additional information can be found on our website. Don't hesitate. I think a lot of the questions I saw in the chat were related to eligibility and what we're hiring specifically. We did an info session, and you'll be able to find the link to that recording. You'll find a lot of extra discussion about the specific internship positions, requirements, and then also get that perspective from a Medtronic recruiter as well. There are other career panels if you're interested in looking at those. I know as Justin asked that really good question, electrical engineering, but maybe you have biomedical or something like that. If you're interested in looking at some of those different career functions, those are also on our website. Most important thing here is that the application is due, and you want to go through SHPE's website through our link, application link. And you can get that application through the QR code that's here on the screen. Also in the chat, I sent a link for that. You want to apply by September 21st at 8 a.m. And the reason you want to apply through SHPE's process is then that opens you up to all of those different SHPE resources. So that's, that technical interview, career prep, panel prep stuff. some mentoring, some different pieces and different aspects that we do to support you as an intern really starts with that application and SHPE's process. And so those are kind of the next steps. If you guys have any questions, I apologize we weren't able to cover all of those today. Don't hesitate, check the website first. And if you don't have an answer, hop on, shoot an email to that internship@ship.org and we'll be happy to help you. Thanks everyone for attending today. Thank you to our wonderful panelists. We appreciate the perspective you guys bring and just all of those great answers and nuggets of advice you provide. Thank you and goodbye, everybody.
Bye, thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.